Page 6, Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring. It's a very famous melody. I did a recording of the Myra Hess arrangement of it on my other channel. I'll try and put a link to in the description. But there's also recordings of her and other professionals playing the piano solo arrangement, her arrangement of this piece, and I encourage you to go listen to those. Just search on this title and you'll find a lot of recordings about this piece. And if you look for the piano solos, then you'll find the Myra Hess arrangements too. 3/4 time, the key of G major, and the melody is kind of going back and forth between the two hands. The kicker is, can you make it sound like one hand played the whole thing? Look at the beginning. The left hand gets it the first two notes, that's melody, and then the right hand gets it from there. It needs to sound like one hand played all those notes, like so, but you're splitting it out between the hands. So work on the balance so that sounds like one hand played it all. It's important. This is all over the place here. Now, going on, the third and fourth measure, look at the fingering here. You have third measure, 2, 4, 3, and then a 2. That's okay. You should be able to do this type of move easily, and try and get where you can do it without looking at the keyboard eventually. They gave you a sharp sign in parentheses. That's just to remind you that it's F sharp. That's unneeded there because there's a sharp in the key signature, so it is an F sharp. They're just being nice to you. And then watch the fingering. You are not in a 5-finger position. You are moving around here. Second line, left hand gets one measure of melody, and then the right hand takes it over. Third measure, second line, you're crossing over third finger. It's an A, fourth measure. That's an A, a B, and a G. You'll learn to recognize those notes eventually, and it's 2 ledger lines down and then 1 note under it. 2 ledger lines is an A because 1 ledger line is a C. You know that, it's middle C, and 2's an A and 1 more is an A, a G, and they're down there. Keep going, third line. Moving around a little bit, so work that out because the beat's got to be steady. And then top of page 7. Then we get into another melody, and this is where it's drawn out. These play legato. The melody's in the right hand until you get to the third line, second measure, and then the left hand takes it. And then fourth line down again with the dotted half notes, the melody's in the right hand. Up there, bring that out. At the bottom of page 7. The melody for the first 4 measures is in the right hand here. But that G in that 5th measure, that's melody. And these quarter notes, melody also, it's this arrangement. They've overlapped the melody. It's like 2 different voices. So you have to bring it all out like melody in that 1 measure. Because when you see the DSL coda there, the sign that you go back to is at the top of page 6, and the second measure, you go back to that. So your fingering in the right hand at the bottom of page 7 there is, for the quarter notes, is 3/2. This is the 5th measure over, right? 3/2. And then when you go back to the top of page 6, it's a thumb, so you just bring your thumb under. Like so. Play them all legato, and that's how that works. And then you go back up there, and then you go down to the bottom of page 6, and you see the coda sign, the word to coda to help you out. And then the coda is at the end of page 7, the last 2 measures down there, and you'd play those. Now the left hand, melody sometimes, harmony sometimes. So you have to watch with the left hand. At the beginning it's melody. And now with the dotted half notes, those are harmony, so play it softly. Second line, you got melody for one measure, and then harmony. So you got to play this loud, and then this soft. And the next measure, the B, that's harmony also. So it's, that's what we want to hear. So the left hand has to get out of the way for that A. Now, second line, last measure, the F sharp, and the left hand is melody. So if you can bring out that one note. Now, bottom of page 6. First two measures, left hand's harmony. And the third measure, for one note, it's melody. Don't hang on to that note, it's a quarter note. That's what it's got to sound like. And then it's harmony again. Top of page 7, melody. And then when the dotted half notes come in, the melody's in the right hand. The left hand needs to be soft here. Now, look at the last measure, the first line on top of page 7. You have here in both hands a G and a B. The B in the right hand is tied. You're not going to play it again. You just hang on to it. The left hand goes to an F sharp. So while you're hanging on to the B, you're going from a G to an F sharp. Like so. And then you go on. Third and fourth measure, the second line. Again, the right hand has a tie. You're going to hang on to the D while you play these chords in the left hand. Last two measures of that line, again, the right hand is tied, so hang on to it while you play the chords in the left hand. And then third line, second measure, it's all melody. And then fourth line down, when the dotted half notes come back, the melody's in the right hand. Keep the left hand soft. And again, we got these tied notes in the right hand. Hang on to them. The last two measures are the fourth line there on page 7. The right hand is tied, you're going to hang on to it. And the left hand, you have a B and a G. The B is tied, you see the curved line for that one? But there's no tie for the G. It's not tied. So you're going to play it again. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's what's written, so that's what we do. So the last two measures, you're tying the B and the D, but you're going to play the G twice. Now, what we can do here, and you have to go back and listen to the real thing, is in the last measure of that line, there, that G could be melody. You can bring that one note out. So the melody goes from the D to the G, and the D turns into harmony at that point, because you're tying it over. That's what they need to hear. So the last four measures there where the dotted half notes are, and that line is here. And bring out the G, and then the right hand gets it again. It's melody in that measure for both hands. Gets a little tricky. Now this, for the most part, is all legato. So you're going to connect all these notes as best you can, but I recommend we add a little bit of phrasing. I mean, typically it's done, it's not marked in the piece, but I'm going to show it to you anyway, and you can pencil it in if you want it. So if you look on page 6, third line down, third measure, where the right hand has the B and then the left hand takes over. The B actually ends a phrase, and the G is the pickup to a new phrase. So it's like at the beginning where it's, it's a new. So if you want to lift up the B a little early, so we get a little bit of silence before you play the G, that kind of adds to the music. So if I play that third line on page 6, it's this way. If you can, it adds a little bit to the music. You get the same thing on page 7, third line down, second measure. It's here. A, lift up before you play the D, because that starts a new phrase. The A ends a phrase. It's from here. That ends a phrase. It's similar to the beginning where you're starting on the second beat. That's all we're doing in this other part too, typically. If you can phrase it that way, it adds a little more to it. Now, dynamic wise, it says medium soft. That's the melody. That's all these quarter notes. So the left hand harmony has to be really soft. And at the second line, you get a decrescendo. So, well, the idea is at the end of the first line, you would actually crescendo a little bit. It would just naturally. And then at the second line, first measure, come back down. Just come back down to a medium soft. You see in the second line, third measure, under the staff, they have the word shift. They're telling you to move your hand. The shift, that's not part of the music. That's something the editors put in there to help you out. So you don't have to memorize the word shift and what it means. Simply telling you to move your hand, because you're up here and they want you to come down here. You have two rests. You don't need the word to tell you to do that. The fact that the note is down here should tell you you got to move. So you're down here. So the same thing at the last line on page 6. They're telling you to shift again because you're here and then you want you to come down here. Again, they don't need the word shift. You can look at the notes and realize you need to move, and that's all it is. They're just helping you out. Third line down on page 6, we have that swell, that crescendo, decrescendo. Come up to there and then come back down. It's not a big swell. You don't get loud. You just come up a little bit and come back down. And then the last two measures of that line, you're starting to get louder again. You can come up to a medium loud. And then come back down. They never tell you when to come back down, but come back down in the last line. You don't stay up there. Come back down. Then at the top of page 7, you get another crescendo up to a loud. So I would say here, if you want to be medium loud here, it's up to you. I don't see anything wrong with going back down to a medium soft. Because now you're going to crescendo the last 3 measures. 2 of them you get louder and the third one you're loud. Because when you start these dotted half notes, you're loud. According to them, you're loud. Don't get too loud. And then third line down, when the quarter notes come back, you're soft. I would do the soft on the second beat, because the first beat is ending the phrase. It's ending this melody that you've been doing, and that ends it. And then you can come down, because it again is a different phrase. You can lift up before you, and then be soft. So play the third line. It's that way. Fourth line, you're going to get loud again. And then you can stay. Then you stay loud in the last line until that 4th or 5th measure. The one right before you go back. Those quarter notes, make them soft. Or medium soft. Go back to what you were going to be at the beginning, at whatever that dynamic is. Do it on those quarter notes, those last 2 quarter notes. Because so that last line there, those 5 measures. All of a sudden you're soft. So the G is loud. That's ending this loud part. That's loud. But these quarter notes then are soft. Not because they're harmony, because it's another voice is taken over and it's soft. They're just overlapping a little bit. Then for the coda, it says retardando, slow down a little bit. And then I'll roll all of those notes one at a time, like so. And I do it on the beat. Some people play the top note on the beat, I don't, I do the bottom. And that takes us to the pedaling. I have some suggestions to make on the pedaling. Now I'm going to suggest that you do not pedal any part where the melody is quarter notes. Look at the top of page 6, the last two measures. They're suggesting when the left hand plays these, you're pedaling that. I disagree. Because if I pedal it the way they're showing, this is what it's going to sound like. To play the first line or so, it would be this way. And I think that's just terrible. I don't even know why they suggested that, other than because the left hand played, they're adding pedal. And that's not a reason to add pedal just because the left hand plays. No, I suggest you leave out the pedal anytime this quarter note melody is going on. Throughout the piece, wherever it is, don't pedal. The part you do pedal is when, over on page 7, when you have these dotted half note melody. This part is like the last measure of the first line and the whole second line and the first measure of the third line. Pedal that. That we want legato. And also in the fourth line, starting in the third measure, when those dotted half notes come in, pedal all of that. That's legato. But when the quarter notes are going on, don't pedal any of that. So we get something that sounds like, well, the top of page 6 without pedal, then it would sound like that. And that's what we want. Just a nice flow of the quarter notes, clean. But then on page 7, when the dotted half notes come in, then we pedal. This legato pedal, change each measure. And then lift up on the third line down. When you play the second measure, the A, lift up. Because we want some silence before. And you're not pedaling any of that. See, that part's okay, you can pedal that part. And then on the fourth line down, third measure, this part you pedal the dotted half notes. And then in the last line, second measure, when right after I play those first notes, I lift the pedal up. And the third and fourth measures there, you can pedal those dotted half notes. If you want to link them together, you can pedal that to connect it, because I can't connect the left hand because I'm playing the D again. So I need the pedal to connect that. And then you're off again. And then in the coda, you can pedal it just like they're showing you. After you play the F sharp, pedal down, and then change the pedal right after you play the G in the rolled chord. There. Here we're using pedal to help connect this and this, because that's a pretty good stretch. So this will help connect them. Otherwise, we don't need pedal there either. Now don't get misunderstanding here. When I say at the top of page 7, when we're pedaling and we're changing on each measure, we're not changing because it's the measure. We're changing because the harmony is changing at the measure. We're changing with the harmony. It just happens to be happening at the measure, so it's here. And that's why we're changing. Now as far as how fast this goes, it says on Dante it's a nice strolling. You'll hear it played at various speeds. Some people play it quite fast. It is not a fast piece. It is just let it flow. 1, 2, 3, 1. We want to feel that natural accent. steady, just a nice piece. Let's go through this slowly just to double check the notes and the rhythms and everything. I'll give us 4 counts because we come in on beat 2. So I'll give you full 3 counts because it's the 3/4 time, plus another beat for the rest. So hands, where they go to start, it's here in the left hand, and the right hand is here. Oh, this is fun, isn't it? Huh? Foot's on the pedal. 1, 2, 3, go.